Welcome to AG webcast titled Using ARIS Connect to Enable Vodafone's Digital Journey. Today's webcast will be presented by Ralph Thompson, Tooling and Senior Methods Manager at Vodafone UK. As we move through today's presentation, I invite you to submit any questions that you may have via the Q&A box, which is located in the top right corner of your webcast dashboard. We will address your questions at the end of today's program. In the event that we're unable to answer your question, your submission will be recorded, and today's presenter will be back in touch with you as soon as possible. Additionally, today's presentation is being recorded. This program recording will be available on the ARIS playlist of the Software AG YouTube channel later today. Before I turn today's presentation over to Ralph, I would like to briefly introduce you to Software AG. Software AG helps companies with their digital transformation. With Software AG's digital business platform, companies can better interact with their customers and bring them on new digital journeys, promote unique value propositions, and create new business opportunities. In the Internet of Things market, Software AG enables enterprises to integrate, connect, and manage IoT components, as well as analyze data and predict future events based on artificial intelligence. The digital business platform is built on decades of uncompromising software development, IT experience, and technological leadership. Software AG has more than 4,500 employees, is active in 70 countries, and had revenues of €879 million in 2017. With that, it is now my pleasure to welcome Ralph Thompson.
Thanks, Will. Hello there. This is Ralph Thompson. As Will said, I'm responsible at Vodafone for managing the ARIS platform across Vodafone, the central group, and across the global markets. Had a few years experience with ARIS and other BPM tools, both as a customer, as I am now, or user at Vodafone, also for Jaguar Land Rover and working on several SAP projects. But before that, also on the vendor side, helping to set up the ARIS UK operation on the sales and the operations side for delivering ARIS to customers. So I've had a taste of both sides of the fence, and I hope that comes in useful in the presentation today. So what we'll cover today is basically what we're doing with ARIS at Vodafone, how we moved to the Connect portal on a cloud from our on-premise version, and lessons learned and the roadmap for ARIS at Vodafone that we see in the next few months. Just a very quick overview of the usage figures for ARIS at Vodafone, which gives you an idea of the landscape here. We've managed to whittle down the active databases from a larger number down to 12, and we're still working on getting that down to a lower number. So we're doing that by consolidating content and merging databases across all the global markets. We have around 230 active ARIS designers, modelers, and we keep a track of that by if designers or modelers have not been active for a few months, we send them emails saying, do you want to continue or you'll be deactivated, so we keep a control of that. We have over 9,000 Connect viewers registered, so these are people, users that have requested access to Connect, which is the portal to the ARIS content. Of those, around about 2,000 are still active on a today basis. So the ratio there that you can see is quite a high number of viewers to modelers, which is what we're trying to achieve. There's no point in building the content if nobody's going to look at it. That's the way we look at it. We are very much designing so that the content can be seen across Vodafone from a range of business teams, technical teams, and project teams. As a rough figure, we have over 2,000 active business process models within the group area, and we have more in other global markets, in other databases which are local to those markets, to those locations. So ARIS at Vodafone has enabled us to set up a central process library, which is mainly covering the sell, build, run areas of our business. So these are more of the customer-facing processes, the selling and the building of customer orders, and then run being the support of the customer operations once they're delivered. It's also previously to the setup of that, we have did a rollout of SAP across 40 markets some years ago, and I was actively involved in the setup of that, where predominantly finance, supply chain, and HR, we did 6-month drops across the globe, 2 or 3 markets at each drop with additional functionality of SAP, and ARIS very much underpinned the rollout of that, providing the business users and the technical teams with an upfront view of a global process template and blueprint. So we didn't reinvent the design for each of the countries. It was a very much a common process model implementation. It's also supporting today our enterprise transformation programs. A very successful one recently has been our global support operations for our business-to-business support. We've changed platform applications to give a much more responsive and very high quality level of support to our customers there. So I shall give you a very quick show of what we have on our ARIS platform, and this is what we have moved to now on the cloud with Connect. So if I seamlessly go to the ARIS Connect portal. So this is our home screen. So on the left here we've got these are relatively new to ARIS Connect, the tiles, which jump to it's useful for us because we do have different databases in different global markets. We can jump from one single home page to different databases in different areas on our ARIS platform. On the right hand side we've built useful links, and if you click in here we have guides which includes our training materials, videos which I'll show a glimpse of later, and getting started guides. So if we jump into the content here, so if I go into Group Enterprise, we can see that our core process library is here, Sell, Build, Run. We have different views. If I click quickly down into Run, so our central library consists of a functional breakdown almost of our processes, and we drill down through the value chains and then into our process flows. If you notice the navigation within Connect, now we have the locking of the swim lanes here. We have on the left-hand side, the navigation bar is improved. What you're seeing on the left-hand side is not the folder structure. These are the assignments in the models. So these are drill downs to the models. So this is different to Publisher, which I shall cover later. We can also move around the model using the windows and zoom in and out. Move around by dragging the cursor. So the navigation of the content and the navigation up and down the hierarchy is very much improved. Over here we have our programs and lines of business. So we have different views of the business with a business point of view as opposed to a library point of view. And for more attractive and end-to-end views, we have links to our value streams, customer journey models, and I'll show you another one that we've recently done. So clicking on the tube map here, we've created this as a new model type in ARIS, where our business users wanted to have more of a end-to-end and journey-focused way to get to the processes. If we click on these processes in here, we get to exactly the same processes that we do in the other view, in the more functional view. So if I now go back to the PowerPoint. I mentioned before that we are trying to attract more users and get more teams to adopt ARIS, and the only way you can do that is by making it easy for them to navigate and more appealing. So one of the things that we've done there is obviously the value streams based on tube maps. I'm saying tube, but I realise that this is a global audience, so we're talking about the London Underground tube map here. So it's more related to journeys and end-to-end. What we've also recently done is a persona journey mapping, which I shall very quickly show you. In here. So showing off the new favorites option in Connect. And here we've done this view which shows our processes along the top here, cross-sell, build and run that are involved. And here we have personas down on the left-hand side. And these personas are not the executing roles, they are high-level groupings of people that have user stories and pain points and information about what they would like to achieve. So these are not necessarily the executing roles, these are people involved in the project, and we are mapping here red, green, amber pain points related to the personas and their processes within their journey. Okay, so there's different ways to view the content. It's not just about value chains going down to process flows. When you click on the points, the journey points in the map, it actually then links to the underlying executing process. And within the detail of that operational process, we have the exact job roles come up in the process flow underneath those points, with also application systems used. And we can also generate reports that dump out into Excel or a table on screen, which shows the systems involved along that journey also. We also have done employee journey mapping, and it's the same concept as customer journey mapping, and we're now doing much more of the customer journey mapping, customer experience, and we're using the new tools within Connect and the ARIS method for that. We've also used graphics to overlay on top of symbols to show cartoons which show a customer storyboard along the journey. And we've got smiley faces in there as well, which keeps a lot of people happy. But what we do is, as well as it being nice pictures, these are objects with relationships, attributes, and we have much more, many relationships relating to the operational processes linked to these customer journey steps or employee journey steps, the systems used, and other key information. The main point is they're different views, but the same common processes underneath. It's still giving us a single version of the truth, but with different ways in and to show that. We are focusing on process design with ARIS, but what we're also trying to do and have done in other companies and before here is ARIS should also be used as deliverables throughout the whole life cycle. So through the initial idea, scoping, concept, impact analysis, all the way through for design, obviously, but also feeding the build and test teams with test scripts and the basis for the design of job roles, and also for end user adoption, supporting workshops and walkthroughs of the process. Guiding principles, really the main thing is process governance. I've got that as a second point, but we do not really embark on an area of process modelling and creation without us knowing that there's going to be process owners there that will approve and take care of the content once it's been done. We facilitate approval boards, review boards of those processes, providing them with reports to help them understand for an area what the available processes are in the library and what is under development. The first point here, the establish, communicate value. I'm sure a lot of people here on the call will realise that we're continually having to sort of make people aware of ARIS and the fact that it is not just pictures, it's not just diagrams. There's a whole much more to it than that, and that is a continual sell, not just to management, but to your colleagues, to your peers, to the end users, to the business users. And it's really important to have everybody on the team with sales packs, overviews of why ARIS does what it does, and to help gain adoption. Of course, we've got to make sure that everybody follows standards and make sure that teams understood. Do not assume that people understand the standards. And what we have at Vodafone, one of the success factors here is a super user group where we have representatives from each of the process teams that are producing ARIS content, and every month we meet and people submit their feedback. We put forward new method suggestions and make sure that the leads of all the different process teams are aware of that and are comfortable with it, and if they've got any enhancements that they can feed into that. I suppose the other main mantra throughout the years has been keep the content clear and simple. It's not about showing how clever the analysts are, the ARIS content. The main thing is that people understand it and keep it as clear as possible, and follow some guidelines on good layouts on there. Okay, going on to the main topic of this call, migration to the cloud. We moved from an ARIS 9.8 system earlier on this year. I'll show you a very quick overview of the plan. We were on-premise and we needed to migrate to ARIS 10. So at that point we evaluated, should we stay on-premise and upgrade here, or do we move to the ARIS Cloud hosted by Software AG? So we did quite an analysis of benefits, costs, and came up with the fact that it's actually more beneficial to go to the cloud. It's got the benefits there. These are what we found out of our own analysis. This is not what I've got from the Software AG slide, believe me. We found that upgrades and support will be much easier with reduced operational costs and internal procedures. So that gives us then the latest functionality every 6 months with new releases, to make sure that we're getting the latest functionality from Connect Aware. We'll be looking at Connect designers in the near future. So what that latest functionality has enabled us to do is to then migrate fully from Publisher, which we're using on our on-premise site, and move fully to Connect. The other thing that the increased functionality of the latest releases enabled us to do was to remove some of the legacy customizations that we had. These were necessary and we needed them at the time because that version of ARIS did not do exactly what we wanted. But the new ARIS configuration has got a lot of self-service configuration, which we very much want to do rather than have our own customizations, so that when we do come to upgrade, it's just a straightforward exercise. It's not a project, it's an upgrade. Also, having the external cloud was actually helped us to, with terms of access for around the globe and for our partners, our third-party suppliers and people, delivery partners. So, moving from Publisher, why? We obviously had to decide, do we go Connect or stay Publisher? And it's a pretty straightforward decision to go to Connect. Much more functionality and better user navigation. There's lots more tricks and ways to display the content on Connect, and the main thing is so people can find what they're looking for. So the search capabilities are much better on Connect now. Also, I suppose the burning platform with regards to Publisher is that Connect is actually the future platform that will be supported by Software AG. So all the ongoing developments are being made in Connect. So obviously that's the way to go. We also, it's better to have one common user portal for support issues and for lots of reasons, that everybody is using the same way in and use of navigation. So the other side benefit of all of this that our end users really liked was the fact that when you create content or you're in a workshop with ARIS and you're capturing information and making changes there within the ARIS designer, Connect portal is updated in real time. So it's instantaneous. So you make some changes in the designer in the workshop, immediately you can display that on the Connect user port, the Connect portal. That, whereas Publisher is more of a batch operation, it was usually updated overnight. I'm assuming that people understand what I mean by Connect, so there's been a bit of an assumption, I'm afraid. But Connect is the portal by which all of our users see the end content, whereas ARIS Designer is the authoring tool. The other benefit that we got from the latest version of Connect and moving to cloud was that the single sign-on was much more improved. We were able to roll it out, a URL to connect, to go onto the content where any new users not known to ARIS could simply click on a URL and a default user account will be created for them automatically. So that being a default read-only account on the Connect portal. So it maintains a straight login, a straight link, but it identifies who you are so that we know who is in there. Some of the issues that we had were obviously had to retrain the end users that were using Publisher and even the previous version of Connect. So we made sure that throughout the project to move to the cloud that we gave reminders to people. We sent e-learning videos to them and PDF guides. We used the ARIS user management console to identify all of the Connect users and the modeling users to email them with notifications of what's coming and attached training guides. We also delivered Skype sessions to teams. We jumped in and hijacked all various team gatherings and all hands, and wanted a 15-minute slot to just do a Skype session for within there. I suppose the biggest change for us within Connect is that the navigation on the left-hand side there that people find content, whereas in ARIS Publisher this was based on folders and the ARIS folders, which are still very important to us. We still have a strict governance of the folders within the ARIS database for the content builders. It's very important that those folders are maintained. However, for the business users, the end users, the consumers of the ARIS content, the folders are not as important now. They navigate through the content through either drill down through the graphics, and also on the left-hand side, the navigation bar that I showed you, the assignments are shown on there and the structure. So that was a little bit of a mind shift for a lot of people. But what that also did was we use the Connect portal to show content under review, under development. Now, as content is being produced in the ARIS designers, we have to remind people that it won't be seen in Connect unless you each process or each model, each diagram is in a structure, is in a hierarchy. So it needs a parent value chain above it to be able to then be accessed through Connect. Whereas in Publisher, you could just go to the folder and pick up the process. So that was a change, and you can very easily, within Designer, create these structures. Very easily create these structures in ARIS Designer using the navigation window. I'm sure a lot of people that are on the call will know that, but you need to show the modelers how to do that quickly. The URLs obviously will change from Publisher to Connect, and to try and make this easier, we produce reports out of ARIS to a listing in Excel of the new URLs so that they can copy and paste those into the content. These are talking about the URL links that may be in documents or PowerPoints that link to processes in the ARIS database. So with the new cloud, those URLs will obviously have changed, so we can make it, but we need to make it easy for those people to copy those new URLs into their content that's outside of ARIS. High-level plan. We just used Excel because we were sharing this with Software AG as well. So internally within Vodafone, we now use Kanbans and more agile techniques, but for the purposes of this ARIS implementation and the external communications with Software AG, we use this. And our milestones, we started preparation in February this year, moved through. Our end game was go live end of June, in the middle of the World Cup, but that wasn't an issue. So we moved through the preparation phase and the build. We could have possibly done it a month earlier, but we wanted to allow enough time to hold really lengthy user acceptance and super user testing and awareness of the new features. We didn't want to rush it through and then present people with a whole bunch of great functionality but completely new to them. So that was our rationale. We also had to, our Evo team, which is the SEP team, had to change from the old ARIS classic symbols to the new ARIS 9 symbols, which was no mean feat. So that was also a factor in this plan. The lessons learned from the implementation really have been the ability, the new functionality that we got from Connect meant that we could remove the ARIS customization. So this was great for us. So it meant that we could just do the new self-service features. That made it easier for us to tweak and configure the system to how it to be. I would say if you're doing this, probably the thing you ought to start immediately upon the start of the project is to talk to your security teams. The actual security approval internally at not just Vodafone, but of course any company that's serious about its security. The fact that you're now going to be on an external URL, a lot of users on there, and for the download of the ARIS modeling components, this does require some interaction with the cloud in terms of some Java being sent down to the user. So what you will have to do, like we had to do, is to get our security team to understand this and to effectively whitelist that URL, so to basically put that on the safe list so that it doesn't get blocked when it is trying to do that. That takes time and a lot of procedures and different teams involved. So I would say not the risk is not the functionality or the implementation. It's actually security approval, which we managed to get. It's not a problem as long as you spend the time talking to your security teams and giving them the information they need in a timely manner. The very useful thing we did was a weekly checkpoint call on a Friday, and that enabled us to talk to the Software AG UK team who are supporting us on the delivery, and we talked with them about, we showed them the plan that I just showed there, our progress, any decisions that need to be made on functionality, and also for us to keep an eye on the burn rate of the consultancy call-off that we had there, and all went really well from Software AG UK, Ubesh and Neil did a great job delivering and supporting us on this. So every week there were no surprises throughout the plan and the implementation. I mentioned the super user group, as well as the usual monthly meetings that we have with our super users. We use that same group to, very early on, as we're implementing the new solution, we would show them demonstrations and give them access to a test system and demonstration system where they would try out the new features and give us feedback. And in some cases, there were some new features that were shown there that we said, you know what, this is going to cause more confusion from day one. We'll introduce it later, so we'll hide that functionality. You know, and that decision was made by the super users. They said, you know, we'd prefer if we don't do that now. We'll keep it simple on day one. But there were, again, no surprises with functionality. You know, everything that came up in front of people when we went live, people were aware of and knew how to use. And part of, to help with that, we had a communications plan where we had an internal team. We're very lucky that able to do animations and videos for us, but they're now quite commonplace as suppliers as well. And there's software applications that help build these animations, and we found these to be a great help. And I'll show you an example of what we did. We did one which is an ARIS overview for new people to ARIS, which is the overall concept of ARIS. Why, what does it do, why, and some examples. And then we did another one which is new features, exciting new features in your ARIS Connect to the existing user base. So I'll just show an extract from that. I can't, unfortunately can't play the music and the narration to the video through this WebEx, but there's voiceover artists that we discovered in the team, channeling some celebrity voiceovers on here. Unfortunately, I can't show you them, but I'll just play you so you can see the graphics at least. So this is the exciting new features. Exciting. We did it with a bit of fun and tongue-in-cheek and make it watchable rather than just PowerPoints, and to explain what's happening, what's coming through, and also it also doubled as a training video as well. So we were able to show on here screenshots of the new features, the new search, how to say favorites, which I'll show in a minute. And this explains to people that our single sign-on has improved. There's no need to pre-register users that we had to have before. And we can also distribute links. So whereas before we can now have direct URLs to connect pages distributed around, and those can be automatically sent from Connect to nominated users as well. So I'll just move on to, so here you can see that we used it to as training as well as an awareness guide. So we distribute those links out and recommend to our user base that watch these at your leisure. If nothing on Netflix, get a bottle of wine and just watch the ARIS videos. That's what we do. So we also have links to getting started guides, and this is also extremely important. These are really just to show that it's worth investing the time in materials to show exactly how things work, and the navigation in particular. Here's the roadmap for ARIS at Vodafone. This is what we're seeing to our next financial year, which is it's March. We've obviously done the cloud release 10.4. We're now focusing on reporting, which includes Aware. So we've just recently installed Aware and had some training on that, and we're trying to now mock up some dashboards. I haven't got any to show you today, but we're currently doing that. We've got some ideas. What I'd like is a dashboard on the front page of Connect that you can get to, which, for instance, will be a pie chart showing the different business areas, sales, build, run, as segments. And when you click on a segment of the pie, it then tells you how many processes you have in that area, how many are under approval, how many in progress, how many are ready for review, with a listing of those processes. So that's what we see Aware as operational dashboards within our process library. We are looking at process governance. Before we go full steam ahead into automated process governance, we're going to use as much as possible out-of-the-box collaboration tools where you can forward a process for review, you can share links, you can add comments, and of course link to the ARIS dashboards as well, which can be the dials for the process governance. We can do semi-automatic, if you like, with the basic standard ARIS. Then next year, later on next year, we'll look at doing more workflows and automation to push the processes around Vodafone so that people are prompted to look at the processes and to review them and approve them. This will help adoption as well, you know, rather than things being sitting passive on a portal, people are being poked in the ribs with a sharp stick to review this. It's overdue for review. The other thing that we're doing, we are importing in job roles from SAP, the standard job role library, and then those can then feature in our process flows. We're going to take an import in from our enterprise architecture database of application systems, so that our people who are process modeling are not just making up system names and role names. that they're using standard library objects. The other thing that we've already done to some success actually early on this year is some process simulation, and this really gets over to people that ARIS is more than Visio. You know, some people just need to be told that, and we put in times and costs and resource levels into the process flows and run simulation against those processes, and we had 6 end-to-end process flows modelled, and across those 6 processes we modelled how long it would take from one end to the other, how long processing time it would take, and where the bottlenecks were in the process. The other thing that we're doing towards the end of the year, it's already started a little bit ahead, is looking at how we can do process execution or process automation, and even using the new market trendy name of robotic process automation. We're also looking at that, and also started doing that with some robot roles on our Evo processes. We're thinking of going ARIS Cloud in January. Just need to confirm that over the next few weeks to 10.5. So we tend to give it about 3 months after the official release, and then go with that around about 3 months afterwards. But probably still trying to keep a 6-monthly basis. But we'll look at what the release offers to us before we confirm that. So finally, value statement for ARIS at Vodafone. It's a key enabler for Vodafone, and we're very much going towards a digital telco where our whole operations and customer service is going to be much more digital, and for taking full advantage of new technology. And we see ARIS very much as the process design and conceptual design input to that, and where we've got lots of different project teams doing this, and across the enterprise, ARIS can be very much seen as a way in which we can spot overlaps and intersections between projects and transformations as the different teams have produced different processes in the same database, so we can spot where there are teams that can reuse each other's content. And that's where we get a lot of the benefit from. A lot of the value is that instead of each project or transformation starting from scratch with a blank piece of paper and interviewing business users yet again as to what do you do in your job, we already have the processes from previous projects, content that can be drawn from the library, reused and changed rather than starting from a blank piece of paper. So the main mantra as well is single source of the truth, whereas opposed we know what the latest version of the right process is at any point. So I shall end there, Will, and open up to any questions. If people want to ask about the how the project went in terms of moving us to the cloud.
Perfect. First off, thank you. I'm going to start off with a very simple question, which is, how long are you using ARIS at Vodafone?
Nearly 10 years now. It first started off as an SAP enabler for the rollout. It did that job, and then around about I think 5 years ago, maybe, it then was used to do the central group library. So it's been used for 10 years, but different lengths of time by different areas of the business.
Can you share with us how many internal users are using ARIS currently?
Yeah, I think at the beginning it's around about 2,000, just over 2,000 viewers, Connect viewers active, over the last few years, we've had 9,000 people saying. The last 2 years, we've had 9,000 people coming in and saying we want access. But you know, they may have gone away now or seen the content they want. We now get over 2,000 active users that we're seeing in the last monthly report.
I'm going to pose the question, even though I'm pretty much sure that we're looking at the answer. The question came in to us as, what is the size of your ARIS development team?
Development team. We have a central support team for group. We have 3 to 4 people. For the Evo process team, we have around about 5 or 6 people on there, and across the different global markets, we have local support administrators. It's difficult to say exactly how many. The central core team, which I am responsible for, we have 4 people in that at the moment.
Next question, do you use ARIS Mobile or any pilots with mobile?
We are looking to do that. Our Evo team looking to do more on there, and we will be looking at that. It's already with the new Connect version. You can show that on iPads to look at models and navigate through. So I've done that myself and demos with iPads. It works now, and we are potentially looking at the picture to model in the next few months. That's a potential on the roadmap.
This next question is a bit truncated, so I'm going to ask you to sort of decipher what it was saying. The question came in as, are business process modeling done in Vodafone or architecture workflows also being created? Does that make sense to you?
Primarily business process models. Architectural workflows, I guess they mean more technical design processes. To a lesser extent, it's mainly business process flows, which are meant for consumption by for the business design as opposed to the technical design. However, as I had on the roadmap there, we are looking more at process automation and process execution, and it's something I've done in the past where we have a business process model, and within ARIS we're using the standard EPC format, which we find is better for end users. But within ARIS you can convert that to BPMN, and then that can be the basis for more technical architectural and execution models. But we're going to be doing more of that as we're supporting the digital telco towards the end of the year.
So this next one, a bit extensive. The question is posed as follows. We are considering moving to Connect. What are the main differences you found between the client and Connect? We currently have a mix of designer client licenses and Connect designer.
Ah, right, Connect designer. We have not, ourselves, we've not moved yet to Connect designer. That isn't because Connect designer cannot do what designer does. It's just that we decided to go to the cloud first with Connect viewing as a priority and get the cloud base sorted. We are looking at Connect designer in the new year as well, but we are still using business designer, business architect. Because we've got over 200 modelers and we've had many years of doing that, we need to do that as a phase 2. From what we see, the latest version of Connect Designer has caught up with Business Designer. When we first looked at it 2 or 3 years ago, Business Designer was very much still had a lot more comprehensive functionality than Connect Designer, but it has caught up in the last 2 years from what we see. We can see that Connect Designer is now able to do what Business Designer can do. And it has more advantages of being online and in the same session. You know, there's obviously benefits with that. But we didn't want to move, we didn't want to do 2 huge impacts at the same time. We'll do a move to Connect Designer next year.
Okay, sorry, I was just typing out the next question. Here we go. Is Enterprise Process Library being maintained by any specific users only for updates, or can anyone access to edit in Vodafone?
Has to go through the nominated process owner. So every process has an owner and a lead. So we have 2 attributes against each process. The lead, which is the person who's leading the team that's actually creating the ARIS content. So that could be a project leader or you know, someone in a transformation team. But also we have on there a process owner. So that's from the business. We don't allow anybody to change the processes at all. We govern, I mentioned before about the folders in ARIS. That's how we control the updates of the processes. So we only give right capability to who is the nominated owners. And if someone wants to change something, then we put them in contact with the owners and say, go and talk to them. And then if we get an email that's got them copied confirming the change is okay, then we'll make it happen.
This next one is seemingly simple, although I'm not sure if I'm going to say it right. The questioner says, is it EPC or EPC column display? Does that make sense to you?
I'm afraid neither. It's EPC row. So it's a horizontal swim lane EPC that we use. Yeah. What we did as well, which I've kind of done over the years, is the standard out-the-box names for these models are EPC row and function allocation diagram. And what we do is rename EPC row to process flow. You know, it's very easy to do that in the ARIS config. It's not a customization. It's just a configuration, so that when users go through and click on a box, they don't necessarily. An EPC row is actually called process flow, and a function allocation diagram, we call it supporting information. And end users get that. But we use EPC row. So it's horizontal swim lanes.
Next question. How has AWARE helped with reporting? Can you possibly provide an example?
It's early. We've only just got our hands on the tools. We will see it as a better way to initiate reports. That's what I can see from what we've got as prototypes. We haven't got anything to share just yet, but we soon will have. As I mentioned to you before, we'll have a dashboard which will have things like a pie chart or a speedometer, and you click on those, and that will then extract, that will then kick off a query, an ARIS query or an ARIS report in the background. So you still need the ARIS reports and the ARIS queries to feed the ARIS Aware dashboard. Yeah? It's not replacing those. So you still need those reports and queries. It's just the way in which you drive the reports and queries. So that's where the benefit will be. People will be able to interact more and be more visual to start the reports. So you click on the cell portion of the pie, and you'll get a listing of the cell processes, you know, that sort of thing.
Okay. The next one, an important question. How do you quantify the value of your ARIS investment to your management?
We, as part of the justification to go to the cloud and to continue with ARIS, with the ongoing costs of that, we had to do a value analysis, and Software AG actually helps us with that, UK, and this was pretty valuable. So what we did was we looked at how it could actually save money and effort and resource that would make sense to a financial director or whatever. So we worked out that what would be the savings in terms of costs for design and gathering of the as-is information. So working out how long it usually takes to set up a design project or transformation, how long it takes to do the as-is capture versus retrieval of a process that's already been done by a previous project. So that was, you could easily get that in terms of how many man days versus consulting rates in terms of what the saving would be there. So that mainly on reuse of processes, because as we're building the library, more reuse will then progressively happen. The other value is in terms of impact analysis for projects. So we're able to do an upfront analysis of the operational processes before we start burning a lot of money on the build and configure teams. We can model the process and see, is this something that we want to do? And that was another big factor in there.
Okay. The good news is that we still have questions coming in, so that's good news. The bad news is we're at the very bottom of the hour. So what we're going to do is all of these questions, and feel free to continue to submit your questions. Everything is being captured. We will clean up all of these questions, and we will revert them back to Ralph to be back in touch with you. With that said, before we go, I would like to bring to everyone's attention on the call the upcoming 2018 product release virtual conference. This is the second year that Software AG is doing this. The program will take place October 9th, 10th, and 11th. You can experience the program right from your desktop. You can see in front of you the dates that they will be happening at various times, Europe, the United States, and North America, and of course Asia Pacific. So please take note and please register at 2018productrelease.com. Additionally, I'd like to take the opportunity to invite everybody on today's program to register for the remaining programs in this 2018 ARIS 10 webcast series. Our next program will be on October 4th at 2 p.m. Central European Time. That program is titled How You Can Achieve an Enterprise-Wide Rollout for Your Digital Transformation. Please visit the events section under the company tab at softwareag.com for the program registration information. Ralph, really incredible presentation with incredible detail. So we all thank you for your time today. I know our questioners are going to be looking forward to getting your responses additionally after today. So thanks to everybody for joining us. Ralph, again, thank you. With that, our program has ended. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Will. Cheers.